Here's Andrew Cuomo explaining why Bill de Blasio in New York City cannot close schools unilaterally, which seems ridiculous to me. I don't even get his argument here.
Which is he thinks schools should be canceled for the rest of the year. When we made the decision to close the schools, we made it for the entire metropolitan region. Suffolk, Nassau, New York City, Westchester, Rockland. You can't make a decision just within New York City without coordinating that decision with the whole metropolitan region, because it all works together. So when we decided to close the schools, I spoke to Nassau, I spoke to Suffolk, spoke to New York City, spoke to Westchester, and we closed all the schools at once. Any decision to reopen them will also be a coordinated decision. The mayor has an opinion on New York City. Laura Curran, County Executive of Nassau, will have an opinion on Nassau. Steve Ballone will have an opinion in Suffolk. George Latimer will have an opinion in Westchester. But I want to coordinate all those opinions and reopen them at the same time. I'd also like to ideally coordinate that with Connecticut and New Jersey. So whatever we do all at the same time. So I understand the mayor's position, which is he wants to close them until June. And we may do that, but we're going to do it in a coordinated sense with the other localities. It makes no sense for one locality to take an action that's not coordinated with the others.
So is that action invalid?
Well, that's his opinion, but he didn't close them and he can't open them. It happened on a metropolitan-wide basis, and we're going to we'll act on a metropolitan basis, coordinated with Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester. And ideally, I'd like to coordinate with New Jersey and Connecticut if we can. The New Jersey and Connecticut coordination is not a legal matter. It's a mutual basis of interest. Legally, I want the metropolitan area coordinated. I don't want Suffolk doing something that Nassau doesn't do, that New York City doesn't do, that Westchester doesn't do.
But just to clarify for parents in the New York City metropolitan region who have kids in public schools, should they anticipate them going back to school, or is school off?
There has been no decision. That's the mayor's opinion. I value it. I value Laura Curran's opinion, Steve Ballone's opinion, George Latimer's opinion, but the decision will be coordinated among all of them.
This guy is such an incredible egomaniacal a-hole. First of all, you notice here he said it's not a legal thing in terms of the tri-state area, Connecticut and with New Jersey. And then he said, and legally, I want the metropolitan area, because there's no law. There's no statutory obligation. Bill de Blasio cancels school in New York City on snow days without coordinating with the metropolitan area. It's absurd. There's no rationale why you would close New York City schools as opposed to schools out in Westchester County. Are you kidding me? My daughter goes to a 4,500 students in her school. In her school. That's bigger than some of these counties' entire education. And that's one of, I don't know, hundreds of high schools in New York City. When people go to school in Westchester County, they drive in their car and they take them to school. Maybe they take a bus. In New York City, you've got kids taking the subways. You got the idea that these things are in some way tied to each other is absurd. It's absurd. He just wants control over this. This guy's a nut job. A complete nut job in this way. I mean, I think I cut him slack, more slack than a lot of people who are read into this in terms of pulling the trigger so late in New York State and New York City because the federal government wasn't providing any guidance. But you start to read into this stuff and you start to realize this is all about his ego. He wanted to be the guy to cancel school. He wanted to be the guy to issue the stay-at-home order. Really effed up. Really messed up with this guy.